Welcome, bonjour, hello, good day, zdravo, hola.
Welcome to the Yoga Health Coaching Podcast, a global collaborative conversation about our collective evolution.
We're into the habits for you and the rest of humanity to thrive. You'll hear what's working and what's not on our journeys as coaches, guiding peeps into the habits of thrive. Based on Ayurveda, based on the wisdom of yogis and yoginis, intertwined with the reality of modern life.
We'll also rap about our wellness coaching careers. We'll bring in outside experts to guide our own quests in our personal and pro-thriver journeys. Join us by the Vitamix. We might get loud. We will definitely get juicy.
Hey, it's Cate, and I'm here with Dona Scoutland of Scoutland.com, which if you're like me, you'll spell wrong. It's DANASKOGLUND.com. It took me, like a year to stop saying Dana and start calling you Donna? Or maybe two.
I missed it.
So congratulations on this long-awaited, momentous conversation with Coach of the Month. I'm so glad to be able to share this time with you, and just really appreciative of your stepping into leadership with yoga health coaching through the Awake Living course. And I just have to say, like, when I remember you being in the beginning of yoga health coaching, you come up with you're very interactive, had a lot of questions, and my sense was too that there was a needing really to get it right. And what I see now, and I just want to just reflect this to you and to the community, is like what I see now is like so much more flexibility and playfulness and collaboration and curiosity. And so in many ways, like your journey through YHC is, I think, developed a more juicy side of you, which I would imagine your course members and your yoga students are pretty thrilled about.
Yeah, I think it's come with the confidence. I think the confidence has birthed all that, because it was such a new thing in the beginning. And I was just following the steps, like word for word, like going through the whole system and putting each part into place, and it worked. And then I'm now on my 8th course, and I feel like I've gotten so much more clear around my niche and my style and my values and the principles of my business and all these things, which has allowed it to be, I guess, I like how you're describing it, juicy and fluid and all those great words that you just used, which is great, because it's funny because you say those things and I'm like, really? I didn't even realize that was coming across that way. And I'm glad it is, because yeah, to me, I'm just kind of doing my thing, but it's funny to hear you say those, describe it that way. It's good though. I like it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like we can only see so much ourselves, right? And then there's everyone else's experience of us. And my sense is like a lot of the capacities that we build in yoga health coaching that start to really align our energy and our attention in our career, right? It starts like of all the desire we have to impact positively, and then all the actions we're taking. Often when people start yoga health coaching, those two things are not really in alignment, where the actions aren't necessarily leading to the most leveraged impact or income for that, for the sort of like the secondary payoff there. Right. And then really for potential collaboration, which really starts to open up after we've kind of laid the groundwork for leveraging our work in the world. And, it's like there's this linear step-by-step path from A to B, but then there's also this, what happens is we're not actually able to predict exactly what that ends up looking like, or some of the side benefits of like, oh, I'm more open, or, oh, I'm more curious, or I'm more collaborative with my students or course or my tribe.
Totally. I think also it's kind of what came to mind is learning the scales so that you can then be creative and make your own music. And I totally now it's definitely, I'm so much more attuned to how can I be collaborative, and how can I just having totally new ideas and seeing who I can connect with. And that's so exciting to me, which that was definitely not the case in the beginning. It was very much like my own thing that I was doing all by myself and had to kind of do each part fully. So now it's so nice to actually think of actually who can I team up with, and who can support me, and who can I support, and yeah, and so it's definitely, the mesh is growing.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, who do I want to play with, right?
Yeah.
Like there's this sense of,
Yeah.
that's great. So when you look back on, you just, before we pressed record, you mentioned a few things. One was you're revising systems, and another is I mentioned something about SEO, and you're like, oh, I'll get my virtual assistant to do that. So when you go back to before you started yoga health coaching, and your tech skills and your delegation and your systems compared to now, can you just highlight, especially for other people who are maybe just starting yoga health coaching or haven't done some of these things, can you highlight some of the differences in your thinking, and then in your life, and just in your reality of being a small business owner, sole proprietor of your own gig?
Yeah, well, I'm a mom, so I, from the beginning, it's always been I can do it all, and I'm do it all myself, and the martyr of, trying to do everything at home and then doing everything in my business. And so it started actually with just getting childcare so I could work on my business. And that was like that first step was huge, because I felt totally guilty, and that like, oh no, I can't spend money on that because I don't have enough money yet. But it was that, you have to invest first to be able to get the returns. So that's where it kind of started. And then it was like, oh, okay, then I can like do trades for people cleaning my house. And then so I had, people taking care of helping me with my home stuff. And so the next growing edge was, okay, now I need some help in my business. And so I started to reach out there, and that's, and now it's like, okay, who else can I get to help? And okay. And that has completely shifted, because before it was, I definitely had the whole, I think the perfectionism was really what held me back, because only I know how to do it the way I want to do it. And a part of, I think, delegating is being okay with it not being done the way you would exactly do it, but it's better than not having that support. So yeah.
Yeah, but it's done, right?
And that is worth it. That is worth it. Yeah. And just in general, being able to really work on the things that I want to work on, as opposed to trying to do it all and then not having enough time to do the things that really light me up and that really get me into that state of flow, and use, my unique talents and gifts. So that's been a huge, huge shift. And it took me a while. Like I think it's now my third year of, since I started, because it's my second year of continuity. So, it's just in the last, I would say, 6 months that I'm using a VA really regularly. And so it took me a while to get over that feeling of being okay with, reaching out and investing in support. And now it's like that seal has been broken.
Well, and you mentioned to me in the past that your income's increased 30% a year since being in yoga health coaching. And so when you look back now and you see like, oh, now there's something that comes up, like I mentioned something about SEO, and you're like, you just write it down and you're going to delegate it, and you don't have to learn all this stuff about SEO. Now there's a sense of you have a regular ROI. In many ways, it's very low risk now. Mm-hmm. Right. So the small risks you took in the past of work trading for housework, paying someone to watch the kids while you worked in your zone of genius. So now are you sensing that, oh, if I actually look at how much I'm investing here and my return on investment by investing in my business, like there's a predictable curve here?
Right. Exactly. And that also makes it easier to get more help, because then, from experience, I can see that the payout, it was worth the payout. Like there was a big payoff for that, investing in that help and support. And so, yeah, no, for sure. Definitely. And that's why now I'm thinking, okay, even things like Facebook advertising and getting someone to help me with things like that, which I don't really that's not something I really want to learn how to do. And it's not something I particularly enjoy. So it's worth it to go find someone who is an expert and who can help me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing I think that people don't realize is that things that work, like, there's this whole myth of automated income, right? Of like this sort of set it and forget it. And once you've got your course and
Yeah.
it's recorded, you're done.
Yeah.
But when I look at, even like my rudimentary understanding at the beginning of Facebook ads was like, oh, I just need someone for this campaign, or, oh, I just need someone for this. But as we grow, we start to realize like we're always probably going to want people to be opting in onto our email list. And
Totally.
we're going to want to drive that towards automation, which doesn't mean that you just run the same ads over and over again, because Facebook will not, like, they will stop working. And so is it, even though it might be something that in our head is like, oh yeah, we'll just set it all up and it'll be automated. It's like, yeah, well, then someone needs to actually innovate and improve. And so then we can start to see like, oh, that's a constant. Oh, if we want list growth to be a constant, there's going to have to be some sort of energetic investment that's a constant. But if we're getting if we're starting to focus on our return on investment of what that brings in new blood. Okay, what do I do? It brings in new eyeballs, it brings in new earballs, right? What does that then enable for the next phase? It orients us towards growth. So in the sense of like when things were overwhelming, like the thing of like, oh, whether it's Facebook ads or whether it's, improving your website or because you're bringing your course online, when you got to that point of like, oh my gosh, it's too much. Like what did you do? Or what's your advice to others who are, they hear something in some component that really will help them down the road, but in the short term, it seems like an unscalable wall.
Well, for me, it's always been planning ahead and just sticking with the plan, so that it's when you just look at like, what's the next thing I need to do, and then what's the next step I need to take. And yeah, sometimes it feels like there's a lot of moving parts and different like projects and things to work on. So the more I can be organized, the less overwhelmed I feel. Like when I'm not organized and when I don't know what I'm supposed to be working on, that's when I'm just, it all feels like too much. Because if you look at like the big long list, there's always a big long list. But by like, creating organization within that list of putting things on certain days, then I'm only working on one or two things at a time. And that feels totally doable. So it's prioritizing. We've been talking a lot about the 80-20 rule lately in YHC.
Yeah.
So really knowing, okay, what's the most important things to work on and just doing it. It's really like not being so, like kind of getting out of your own way and not being so emotionally involved in it, because it happens. And sometimes it's like, we do need, like last week, I just had a week that I just felt like I was in a little bit of a funk, but I kept moving things along, but I was maybe moving a little bit slower. I just felt like there was a lot, and it was okay to give myself a little bit of that time to just step back just a little bit. And I feel fine today. Like I feel much better. And I also, looking back, I know I still made progress last week. I didn't completely, everything didn't come to a standing halt. Like I still moved towards, but I gave myself permission to slow it down a touch. So it's those rhythms. That's also something I've been thinking about a lot, of just like understanding that there's rhythms and waves of energy and just like in Dinacharya in our work, and to allow for those times of coming down a little bit and getting a little bit of perspective. And that's the time when I do get organized. Like those are the times for planning and envisioning and seeing the big picture and how it all fits together.
So were you all, like before YHC, were you as much of a planner, or is this been a skill that you've picked up in the process?
I was so I think I've always liked being organized, but I didn't really know how to be organized. So I had pieces of paper everywhere. Like I didn't use an online calendar. I had like a wall calendar or like a fridge calendar. And then I had like a book thing. And then I had random scraps of piece of paper everywhere. So that was, and I didn't really understand about the whole prioritization and the whole 80-20. So I just had like to-do lists everywhere. So but there was no sense of organizing at all. It was just to-do lists. So no, it's completely, I didn't have that. And I never really like did goal setting or quarterly planning. I didn't have it. I just had to-do lists. That was the extent of my planning.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now, I mean, you and I have talked about, well, there's a few things that we should throw in here. One is when I first started talking about the Awake Living course and really having a lot more control / collaboration with your Dharma in the next chapter of your life, and having, this goal mastery, time mastery, space mastery, like those different core components. And then I kept putting the course off, and you message me or Facebook me and be like, when's this happening? I need this to happen yesterday. And it was really great because it pushed me to making it happen. And then I was like, hey, you want to do this? Why don't you help me do this? And so I brought you in to really collaborate with me and help me organize this into a course. And now it's going to be a book, and Sounds True, it sounds like wants to publish it. And so now I'm in the book proposal writing phase and whatnot. So just for you to know that your desires are linked to other things happening for other people in the world. Like, because a lot of people were in that course, that first beta on Awake Living, and you led a lot of coaching calls to help, when I would do the call, I would do like the content, and then you would follow up and do Q&A sessions and community conversations. And you got a lot of feedback that like those were really helpful. You did a lot of videos with me where you would ask me questions, and I'd let you know how I was, bending time and using space and whatnot to hit goals on time. What was that whole thing like as from a collaborative or collective leadership experience?
Well, it made me step up for sure, because in having to, I had weekly calls. So I think I led like 16 calls. And so I had to know those books backward and forwards. I had to understand the systems. I had to be doing the systems to really be able to, have integrity with my word and be able to answer questions and troubleshoot and all those things. So it really enabled me to improve and work on those things for myself, so that I could really, truly teach them and explain them and lead those calls. So it was awesome. And it was a great, that's always, I've done that. Like, that's something that I've done. I create accountability measures. Like, I'll declare that I'm leading a workshop or teaching a course, and then that makes me do it. And I declare it before I actually have it all figured out or written out. And it's awesome. It works. It totally works, because we need that, something to put our nose to the grinding stone and to actually make it happen. Because it's easy to put things off.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's it like? I'm just curious, like, what's it like knowing that you pushed something forward and other people benefited?
And we'll be right back with the second half of the interview after a quick word from our sponsor. Stay tuned.
Today's episode is brought to you by Banyan Botanicals. My friends at Banyan are offering us 20% off their products for summer, including their Healthy Pitta and their Pitta Digest and their Pitta Massage Oil, all of which I look forward to using as it heats up here in Wyoming. So to get that coupon, go to yogahealthcoaching.com/Banyan, BANYAN. And you can get all sorts of great pitta reducing products for summer. So again, yogahealthcoaching.com/Banyan will get you 20% off.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's so rewarding. All the stuff, YHC and helping in Awake Living, and just seeing people like have aha moments and make breakthroughs in their own lives and like understand and create new systems for themselves. I'm always like, I don't know why, it always takes me off guard, and it's like I don't expect it.
Yeah.
So when I get feedback like that, I'm like, wow, really? that really worked for you, and you got those great results? Because I don't know, I don't assume that they will.
Right.
I think I almost assume that they won't. I don't know why. So that makes me actually do my best in order to see how well I can teach and not only teach it, but because I think there's one thing of just sharing the information, but actually getting people to implement those things it's a whole nother skill set. So I'm always just so grateful and so appreciative, and I feel it's so fulfilling to see people have great benefits from all the work.
Yeah.
So, and it's awesome because it actually, in creating that, then has it's like once we create something once, we can reuse it and repurpose it. And it's helped me in my other courses and with the things that I learned. And now I have new things to share and teach. So
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to me, it really, it speaks to too. It's like, as we hit new phases of growth, it's like we need to always be on the lookout for leaders. So as you're doing this now, how's this translating to you as a yoga health coach leading courses and knowing that like, oh, you stepped forward for me. And then I was like, great, I'll put you on a pedestal and I'll give you tons of FaceTime and we'll talk a lot. And like, you'll get, this real mentoring experience. How do you see it now in your career?
Well, I mean, I've incorporated mentoring in my own courses. So I've now, for all my courses, there's mentors for each person. Like there's like, I'm able to get a 1-to-1 ratio.
Wow.
So, which is so nice. I mean, so I'm so confident that each person is so truly supported. And then out of those mentors, I can see I've got like leaders for those mentors. So it's, there's a whole kind of system that I've created. And yeah, it's so nice. And it's so much easier to see those qualities in other people, of people that I really, and then I can seek them out and ask them, if they want to be part of the leadership team in my own business. So it's awesome.
And how do they feel when you ask them that?
Oh, it's so flattered, and it's such a win-win-win for everyone involved. I mean, they get to continue to learn and grow. I'm getting more support, and I'm able to provide more like value in my courses, and the people that are getting all that extra mentoring are having a better experience as well. So it's really like the perfect situation. It's so ideal in every possible way for everyone. Yeah.
To me, I mean, it's so, I keep hearing it. I feel like I hear it everywhere I go these days, but this understanding of the mentoring relationship is really coming back, as we're realizing that like the one to many isn't that effective when the many are all at the same place, but having more of these tiers and building in hierarchy based on experience and embodied knowledge, it helps the entire system to build, it's hierarchical at the same time it's lateral, because if you have a few mentors that are around the same level, they're lateral support for each other. The students, the entry level students are lateral support for each other, but within the lateral, there's hierarchy and there's infrastructure. And there's that experience of connection just on that person to person. Like you and I have a much stronger connection now. We talk a lot, and there's a sense of like, you kind of, who's on your call list, right? Like you actually are, you have on your speed dial the people that you've received help from or you're collaborating with. And there's a sense of like, I'm never in it alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And even the lateral with masterminds and being more connected to like my YHC peers and having those regular meetings has been so nice. And just feeling like that support system has gotten so much stronger and so much more intimate and therefore so much more effective. And it really, so yeah, that whole lateral thing is really, I found that to be a change.
Cool. Yeah. And I'm glad you brought up the YHC mastermind, because you've really seen a lot of evolution. And I mean, the yoga health coaching has just been in a constant state of invention. So it's like growing, right? And so
I took LAC when you introduced it as yoga lifestyle coaching, I think is what
you did. You go way back. Oh my gosh.
So I didn't do it then, but I was in that, and I looked at it, and I didn't actually lead a group, but I looked at the material and I was very intrigued, and it planted a seed. And then it wasn't until a whole year later that I was like, yeah, no, I'm ready to actually do this for real.
That's cool. Yeah. Now we have, I love that when in continuity we brought in the mastermind this past 6 months, and just seeing like, okay, it's working. And then that'll just get more diversified as we'll have masterminds based on different topics like marketing or on more on coaching and in the classroom, out of the classroom type masterminds. And to me, that's really how we can, in many ways, like measure progress and our impact is by seeing, like the A to B happens for people, whether in most yoga health coaches, it's like just really getting people stabilized, right? Where they're eating at the same time every day and going to bed at the same time every day and pooping and it's miraculous, right? What happens just in that. And then there's like the next level. It's like once they're there, then it's like, okay, now we can do this really next fun thing. Yeah. And then once they're there, it's like, okay, now we can do this, and then it's nurturing each of those stages. So you were just telling me too, that you were revising some systems, and it's like, as things progress and grow, what are you finding in terms of like going back also to what you've already set up and reworking it to work better?
Well, now that I'm more clear on my niche, I can, be more specific in all of my marketing tools and in my opt-in and just having had the experience of doing like a zillion free talks and all these things. So all those pieces can just be so much more optimized, and I know what works now. And so it was good. I got that stuff done in the beginning because I knew I had to have it, and it worked. And now being able to go back, I can refine it, and I know like what little tweaks I need to make and what changes to make it better. So yeah. And it's like understanding the whole funnel, and I've got now the whole funnel of, just like you said, it's getting the 10 habits. And then I've got, my continuity, and then my kind of mastermind as well. So taking people through that whole, once you've got this, once you've got these body habits down, then what's possible. And then let's create that together, and let's, make it happen.
So now that you have this pathway, I would imagine you're much more clear in your communication with people. Like when you're having a strategy session, you can probably gauge where they're at and where they'll be, and you can kind of give them glimpses of, hey, we've got a journey ahead, and there's these different places to rest, and there's these different places to fuel up, and there's some different partners that you're going to encounter at different places to make sure you get. So what's that like from, just when you remember back to 3-4 years ago when you were just teaching yoga and learning Ayurveda, compared to now when someone in the grocery store is like, oh, hey, I heard your name. I heard you can help me with my back pain or whatever it is, right?
Well, yeah, no, now it's like very much that you need to do the baseline 10 habit course first, because that is foundational. And that needs to, because, people come to me for therapeutic yoga, and now with the understanding that I have on how I very much thought that the yoga was enough before. Like, that's all you need. You just need really good alignment in your yoga practice, and have some green smoothies and you're good. and now I understand, with the sleep habits and everything else, that they do need to start at that there. Even if I know that they want to start way up here, I can really guide them and channel them, and so that we all can speak the same language and have the same understanding, the same baseline habits, and then it's so much more effective. And the level of commitment, like really getting people into the level of commitment that I want, and it's so that's also been such a change and so much more fulfilling. It's so frustrating when you teach and you see people that just kind of drop in and they're not getting results, and they're kind of in this half-assed commitment with you, and being able to get people truly committed, and so that they actually show up and they do the work. It's so much better. It works.
Yeah. What I hear so much in that is that you're taking responsibility for once they've heard of you, right? They're connecting with you, then you take responsibility for the journey that they're going to experience. You don't let, it's like you don't let them choose off this menu in an uneducated way, not knowing that they're allergic to whatever, or whatnot, and that it's not going to work for them, not letting them get sick. Yeah. This actually reminds me, seems off topic, but it's not. But back in the old days, I can't remember what country, it may have been France, But you go into a restaurant and the chef would actually like look at you and then make your food. I mean, it's very Vedic, right? It's like where the priests were the Vaidyas were the cooks, right? Where it was like full spirit, mind, body, food preparation connection. But it really is that same thing. Like someone comes to you and you do an assessment and then you tell them what they're going to be doing instead of giving that responsibility to them. And they don't know. They aren't educated in knowing how to be their own practitioner, which is why they're coming to you in the first place. And part of that is to inspire connection and commitment and the journey ahead, and to let them know this is what you're looking at. This is how long this is going to take for you to get those results. And this is what I can offer you. This is how I'm going to support you. This is what this whole thing's going to look at. And then dialing that back, going back into your email sequences, going back into your free talks, going back into every experience they are going to have.
Right.
That's the path we're designing for. And yeah, we got to keep going back and making those better because it makes their journey easier. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can lead them there quicker.
And we can call that marketing. I'm trying to drop that word from my vocabulary and just call it tribe nurturance, because to me, it's a different mindset. It's like, I'm not trying to market to them. I'm trying to give them an experience that I would have rather had on my own wellness journey.
Yeah.
Or my own journey to thrive. Like, if I can make anything a little bit more entertaining or faster or more effective or all three at the same time, like I'm all in for that.
Yeah.
And
totally.
it's work, right? Like you have to actually go back through some things you've already set up.
But it's also the kind of thing that you do have to go back, but not so often, like maybe, I don't know, once a year and maybe not even. So it's focus work for a couple of weeks, and then that can run for a while, and there's always new marketing, but some of those things, the opt-ins, and it's not constant.
Right. It's not like every week.
Marketing is constant, like that's for sure. Like the marketing is definitely constant, but some of those opt-in things that like live on my website, and some of those email sequences I can use for new subscribers for a while until I feel like I need to change that again.
Yeah.
So
great. So I guess for what I'm just in closing, like any advice to people in yoga health coaching, maybe even to people who are on the fence about continuity or just wondering, once they've done the 12-month program, should they, should they stick around? What happened to you in the last, because you've been here, you've been with the peeps and part of it.
I mean, when I was done, I couldn't even imagine not continuing. It was not even an option, because I just felt like just getting the continuous support and the continuous, and because I know that you are constantly reinventing and refining and improving, I wanted to be a part of that so that I could be doing the same in my own business. And I wanted to see like how you were making things better and what extra tools, and because I think it's a constantly growing, refining process. And I love the support. I love the guidance. I love the education. I can't imagine not being a part of it, because it's really just, I still listen to all the calls. I mean, even, after, all these years, I'm still, because I get something from each one, and each one re-inspires me and remotivates me and refocuses me and gives me something to work on. So it's great. And it's such a YHC, there's so many components to it. I mean, there's the coaching, there's the business, there's the marketing, there's the nurturing, there's, all the different systems. So there's we need a lot of support. So, and this is, and you keep adding more ways to support us, and it's great. So
I'm glad that, I'm really happy to hear that. And it is cool to see how we do keep adding, like we're now going to add the podcast and adding the YHC blog team, and having this, like we're going to be doing more in the future with the writing workshops for the bloggers. And it is exciting to see how just a commitment to tribe nurturance and to Kaizen and to like everything we practice as yoga health coaches, and architecting our choices and building a mesh of support and knowing your why, how it creates its own ecosystem that is, in many ways self-perpetuating, but also self-diversifying. And one of the things that I'm seeing, and I'm so curious, is as people stick around, they get selected to lead because they have so much know-how and experience and so much to share, that it's so neat how without that, and I see this so much in my own life of when I don't stick with something, it actually lowers my ability to then lead in that arena. Right. Yeah. And so by you sticking with it, it creates a leader and then it builds your leadership capacities and qualities and skills and tools, which then enable you to create leaders in your own career. Right. And so it's without becoming a leader and another component that pushes your leadership edges, you are actually then, basically undermine your own ability to generate leaders in your own business.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Constant innovation and constant growth. It's what makes it so exciting, because it's, we're getting people to change deeply ingrained behaviors, which is not easy.
No. And most people fail at it. I mean, most doctors fail at this with their patients, most other holistic medicine practitioners, most people do not have a good track record.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is, that's why I love it so much, because there's so much depth in every part of it. And so it's always challenging, but it's always rewarding and fulfilling and exciting and scary. But it's great because it's always asking us to grow, which is what I love about it.
Awesome. Well, I'm so glad you're Coach of the Month, Dona. And
thanks.
Again, everyone, it's Dona Scoutland, DanaScougland. She's up in Canada. She's amazing.
Thanks, Cate.
Bam! That is today's episode of the Yoga Health Coaching Podcast.
And remember, the conversations you tune into attune your consciousness.
Thanks for choosing to tune in with us.
Do you love us as much as we love you?
If you want to hug us from afar,
go to iTunes and rate the Yoga Health Coaching Podcast.